President Zuma's State of the Nation address issued an impassioned plea to all South Africans to work towards making a truly prosperous nation. He made special account of moves towards making education an essential service, cracking down on violent and unruly protests, and working towards eradicating gender-based violence. Let's find out what his friends and foes had to say.
I'm quite excited with the President's State of the Nation address. It summarizes the program of the African National Congress.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it was an opportunity lost. I was quite encouraged when the President started by saying he endorsed the National Development Plan, and then he hit on the 5 core issues: unemployment, education, health, crime, and rural development. I thought, here comes something. He's going to endorse the proposals of the National Development Plan. And he did anything but. On every issue that he would have trouble with his allies on, he made a very wide berth.
I strongly feel that the President is actually squaring the circle. I don't think there's going to be any meaningful breakthrough in achieving what he has promised the nation.
Very encouraged when he really presented the way he did. I thought it was very helpful.
Dreadfully boring. Everything was lacking. He spoke for an hour and a half. He really didn't say much. He didn't commit to anything. He didn't give any leadership about anything substantive.
I was bitterly disappointed. I thought it was a lousy address. I thought it was more of the same. I thought it was a repeat of a shopping list. No decisive action, no actual steps, no actual plan. It was incredibly disappointing.
There seems to be a move by government to crack down on violent and unruly protesters. Should we as South Africans be worried about that at all?
Well, it's absolutely right that people have a constitutional right to peacefully assemble and to bear petitions and to protest, and we will always protect that right. But we agree with the President that people can't use force and violence to make their point. That is unconstitutional and unlawful, and no democratic state can tolerate that.
He merely said that the law is going to be enforced, that one shouldn't jump up because the President of the country makes a mild statement in support of the law.
Your first fundamental problem is to deal with your own alliance partners, your own unions. How do you encourage a culture of protest that doesn't turn violent? And in part, I thought the President showed last year that despite the intention, he was certainly not there when Marikana first took place. So I'm holding no ambition that says to me that he will suddenly act and suddenly make decisive steps this year. It seems like we'll have more of the same. We have to speak to unions and we have to get unions on board.
We think that protest and strike must be protected there in the Constitution. But the right to strike and right to protest doesn't give anybody a license to trample on everybody else's right. And what should be cracked down is violence, destruction of property, destruction of life. And if you do so, you are attacking that right actively. And we think that law and order must be restored, anarchy must be confronted, it cannot allow us to reign.
Yes, I think it's very important to address the remuneration of teachers, but then we also have to address the remuneration of everyone. As he said in the public service, some people earn far too much in relation to the extraordinary responsibilities that teachers and the principals have of schools, who on the scale of things earn too little in my book.
As the country or as government, we've prioritized education, but we still have lots of challenges where people don't see it as it's a very important service which is very helpful for their kids, for the nation, when there are strikes. And that's why it was not even referring to teachers specifically. In the discussion, they mentioned the Northern Cape saga where parents held their own kids on stage. And people said it's as if our people don't appreciate how important education is to the well-being of their kids, to the well-being of the country. And that's the stance. We're also conceding as government that we also have a responsibility to make sure that as they do this very essential service to the nation, we remunerate them properly, we protect them, make sure that their living conditions are fine, but they are completely unrelated. If you're in class, you have to do what you have to do.
The idea of making sure that the President prioritizes education is a key and a welcome step. But all I have to say in summing up the speech is intention is one thing, but intention doesn't put food on people's table. It doesn't make sure textbooks are delivered. It doesn't make sure any of that. And the President must act. That's what I was looking forward to, and I didn't get that, unfortunately.
Do you think that the President's State of the Nation address adequately dealt with the problems that we're currently facing when it comes to gender-based violence?
Yes, I think he did. He mentioned the bill that we hope to be passing before the end of this year in Parliament. The bill that has already been approved by Cabinet, the Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Bill, which will ensure that it outlaws discrimination against women, including abuse, and outlaws even cultural practices that are harmful to women, like ukutwala, early marriages, and so on.
So long as we have cultural residues and even religious residues that subject women to inferior status, well, we can have it symbolically in Parliament 50-50. But when they go to churches and mosques and synagogues, they become subservient. So I think really it needs more than legislation to reach women's emancipation.
Last but not least, if you had to score this SoNA out of 10?
4.
The President's State of the Nation address is done and dusted, and the plan for 2013 has been put on the table. With some lofty ambitions, President Jacob Zuma will have to work hard to ensure all the dreams and aspirations of South Africans are fulfilled.